Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Still dealing with a bit of a sore throat and feeling under the weather, but I don't really want to let this go too much longer without getting a chance to talk about it, since some pretty big news broke just a couple of days ago by the time that I'm uploading this. And that is that Paizo Publishing has announced an open play test that's going to be starting for the second edition of the Pathfinder role-playing game. And this is something that I've been wanting for quite some time. I even mentioned that in some earlier videos. Now, the direction that I was hoping that they would take with second edition, I don't think is quite going to be the way that they go. But what they're actually going to be doing is, for their playtest, so it's going to be starting later on, I think it's in the fall that it's going to be starting, or at the end of the summer. And they're releasing a 400-page core book, as well as an adventure book, which has some adventures in it. And they're also going to do a few physical products as well. So from my understanding, the rule book and the adventure book are going to be available for free PDF downloads, but they're also on their website have a form that you can fill out and take to your local game shop to get physical copies of the playtest rules. And these are going to be made print to order, so they're not going to be doing like a second print run or anything like that. I very much want to try to get a copy of at least the core rules, if not the core rules and the adventure. And they're also going to be doing a double-sided flip mat. Or I think it's a package that has 2 flip mats in them. And they're going to be used with the adventures that come with the playtest adventure book. So I'm hoping to get those, and I will provide a link in the description below to the playtest information. So if you want, you can print the sheet off. You have to have the sheets into your local retailers, I think before the end of May. So if you're interested, then I think it's something that you're going to want to try to jump on right away. Like I said, I've just been a little under the weather, so I haven't had a chance yet, but I am going to print off a sheet and take it down to my local game shop, and hopefully I'll be able to get a copy of it. I did leave a question on the Facebook post for Paizo, and they did say that even though I live like in Nova Scotia, Canada, I should be able to still get the physical copies of the playtest information. So that is something that, again, I'm really hoping to do. So again, not much really to say beyond that I'm actually looking forward to the announcement of this second edition Pathfinder game. It's something, like I said, I've been pushing for a while, and thinking that it's something that they need to do to sort of get out from under just being like the D&D 3.75 that this particular version of the rules is. And what's interesting to note as well is the release date for the second edition rules is going to be in 2019, sorry, and the original rules came out in 2009. So that's going to be a decade for this version of Pathfinder, which is itself derived from third edition Dungeons and Dragons. So even if you use the 3.5 release dates, that's still going to be like 16 years. For this kind of version of the rules, which very much follows the third edition and 3.5 rule set. So if you base it off of third edition, then if you went from third edition to 3.5 and then to Pathfinder, you've been playing essentially the same game for almost 20 years, which is really kind of crazy to think about. So I do have a few predictions as to how I think the second edition of Pathfinder is going to shape up. And my biggest thing is I think it's going to sort of more closely match the Starfinder role-playing rules. And I think a lot of what's in the Starfinder, system is going to make its way to Pathfinder. So, for example, in Pathfinder, following the D&D style, the 3.5 D&D style, and I guess pretty much just D&D overall, your attributes are your, like, the bonus that you get to your attributes has always been decided by your race, and that's the same way that it is in Pathfinder. But in Starfinder, your race dictates part of it, and then you choose a theme, and the theme gives you a bonus to stats as well. So I think that's something that's going to happen, is you're going to have the themes, which are essentially like backgrounds, only they're going to more directly affect your character statistics, unlike what in 5th edition, where they just give you a few bonus things and determine more of your role-playing sort of potential. So I think that the themes from Starfinder are going to be integrated into the core rules of the 2nd edition Pathfinder rules. I also think that they're going to probably do something similar to how Starfinder has a stamina system and hit points. And the way that it works is stamina, you heal stamina points. They're basically, they're hit points that you go through first before you get to your actual hit points. Is your ability to kind of shrug off damage. Your stamina points return similar to how hit points do in 5th edition D&D, in that if you complete a long rest, you get them back. There's a little bit more to them than that, but that's sort of the gist of it. And then the hit points, which is a lower number, regenerates more slowly, which is like I said when I was doing my video on Starfinder, it's sort of the healthy compromise between the hit point systems in previous versions of Dungeons & Dragons, where it's, very slow to heal them back naturally, and the more modern ones where you get all your hit points back immediately. So it's sort of a happy medium, and you get so many hit points and then so many stamina points each time that you level. I think the skill system from Starfinder is likewise going to be making its way into the new Pathfinder system, where you get a set number of skill points at each level, including first. So unlike the current Pathfinder or 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons, where your skill points are multiplied, I think times 4 at first level, you just get a set number of skill points at every single level, and the number of points you have invested in any one skill is equal to your level, so you can never exceed your character level in skill points. To get around where they still have like the class skill and the cross-class skill systems, or skills in this system, if you take a rank in your in a skill that appears on your class list, you get an additional +3 bonus. So where you could have a number of ranks in Pathfinder equal to your level +3, I think it was. Or it was like that in Dungeons & Dragons at least, but for your class skills, and then your cross-class skills in Pathfinder I think was just equal to your level. They do it in such a way that all skills cost 1 point per rank, but if you choose one that's on your class list, you get the extra +3 bonus. So it also gives you sort of incentive to spread out your skill points at each level, because you're getting this big bonus right away just for having it on your class list. So I think that the skill system is also going to cross over into Pathfinder 2nd edition. And the last thing that I think is going to cross over from Starfinder into Pathfinder is going to be their action systems for combat. And so basically in Starfinder, well, let's just actually go into Pathfinder first. So in Pathfinder, if you choose your class, basically you have your base attack bonus. And as your base attack bonus increases, it's been a while since I've opened this book, as your base attack bonus increases, you can see here like a fighter at 6th level gets one attack that it can do at +6, and then gets another attack that they can do at +1. And so that's, and then it just continues. So every time you surpass a, even like a number multiplied by 5, you get an extra attack. So the problem with this system that I found is really, by the time you get into these higher levels, the armor classes that you're going to be up against are high enough that these final attacks are not likely to hit unless you roll very high, or even just a natural 20. But it takes time to go through the rolls, add all the bonuses, and to look over any other temporary bonuses that you might have. So in Starfinder, I'm not going to open up the Starfinder book, but they still have base attack, And your martial classes can still go from like 1 to 20, but they only ever get one attack. In Starfinder, you can take what's called the full attack action, which gives you a second attack that you can make, but both your attacks suffer a -4 penalty. So it's one of those things that you have to be sort of careful about choosing to do. But I think that that system is also going to make its way into the second edition of Pathfinder. So really, the Starfinder, as soon as I started reading through the Starfinder rulebook, and I wish I had sort of said it in the video, I don't know if I did or not, but I always felt like the Starfinder rules was almost testing the waters for changes to be made in a second edition of Pathfinder. And it's not the first time that a company has used a science fiction RPG to test those waters. Back in the day, Wizards of the Coast had a license to do the Star Wars role-playing game, and so they had like the Star Wars D20 role-playing system. And they had released a revised version of the Star Wars role-playing rules, which incorporated a few of the elements that were put into what would be 3.5 D&D. And they also had their D20 Modern, which isn't necessarily science fiction, but there were enough, like there was a D20 Future, and there was enough elements of it that you could almost consider to be sort of like a sci-fi fantasy RPG. And even that, when they released that, had some things in it that sort of made their way into 3.5, like the spells that gave you a bonus to your stats in 3.0 was like a D4 plus 1, and in D20 Modern they just gave you a flat bonus. And in 3.5 they gave you a flat bonus. And you know, the Star Wars revised things had sort of changed the combat system around a little bit, had changed the action types, so it got rid of things like partial actions. And you know, it was said at the time that the revised version of the Star Wars rules was setting things up for the revised version of D&D. And just a few months later, I think it was, that 3.5 was announced. So it's kind of interesting that these two product lines, both Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder, seem to have sort of almost that similar progression, where they have a separate science fiction RPG that they use to sort of test elements or get people used to some concepts that are going to appear in a revised version. So overall, those are just sort of my predictions for Pathfinder 2nd edition at this point in time. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. The reactions that I saw on the Paizo post were very mixed. There were some people that were really looking forward to it, and then there were people that are really upset by it because they've invested a lot of money into Pathfinder. And I know how that feels, because I invested a lot of money into 3.5 D&D and even 4th edition, only to have both of those replaced. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how it goes. I think it's still going to be very successful. And even though it's still using the 3.5 OGL, similar to how the Starfinder rules uses a modified version of the 3.5 OGL Open Gaming License, I still think that if they make the changes from in Pathfinder and kind of derive them from what they do in Starfinder, I really love the Starfinder game, and the Starfinder game is one that I want to continue to get stuff for. And you know, the rule system is just, you know, it is a big part of that. I like the idea of the science fiction stuff as well, and but I like the simplification of a lot of the rules, and to eliminate some of those like unnecessary attack rolls, really, where you're not likely to be able to hit with them. Just to sort of streamline the system, I think is going to make the game flow a lot faster. And I can't wait for the 2nd edition of Pathfinder to come out. I'm actually highly anticipating it, and again, I'm going to do what I can to see if I can get physical copies of at least the playtest rules, if not the rules and the adventure. Don't think I'm going to go for the flip mat, just because I got a lot of dungeon tiles and stuff already. And they'll probably release that anyway later on. So I don't think that's one of those things that they're never going to do another one of. But the playtest rules are something that they said very specifically they're only doing them print to order based off of pre-orders. and that's going to be it. Like, they're not going to do any additional print runs. So anyways, if you're interested, follow the link in the description below to get to the page where you can print off the form, fill it out. I'm going to, like I said, take it down to my local game shop, and hopefully they'll be able to secure a physical copy of the rules for me. So again, I'm looking forward to this. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you're Pathfinder fans, I know I don't really cover any Pathfinder on this channel, but with the second edition coming out, I think that's something that's probably going to change. Just because, I guess just quickly, the reason that I don't really have much of an interest in the Pathfinder role-playing game as it is now is because it's essentially still 3.5 D&D, and it has the aspects of 3.5 D&D that I'm just not a huge fan of, and they did tweak things around a bit, and I definitely appreciate that, but at the end of the day, it still very much feels like 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons, and I ran that as a Dungeon Master virtually every week for 8 years, 2003 until 2012, so 9 years. Jeez, it was a while. It was 2012 when I wrapped up my last 3.5 campaign, so I just really don't want to deal with prestige classes or damage reduction or any of that stuff again, at least as it is there. So like I said, it'll be interesting to see how these things go. I still suspect, like I said, that they're going to port over a lot of the Starfinder rules into it. So anyway, again, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you're looking forward to it, if you're not gonna, if you're not a fan of the idea, let me know, and we can certainly discuss that. So anyway, thank you guys very much again for watching. Hopefully my voice will feel a little bit better next week. But again, thank you guys again. I really appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.